Hi, and welcome to Connect Through Beauty. I am your host, Ashley Rivera, and I'm so happy that you have chosen to join our community. This has been such an amazing podcast, amazing journey, and it's just shined so much into my heart and into my soul. Every Tuesday, I get to bring you an interview with a beauty professional that's been out there that can help you level up, give you different perspectives. And every Thursday, we bring you a little shorty that gives you tips and tricks on how to continue that drive each day. And every day that you walk through the door, and every day that you go from one client to the next. That's what it's about. It's about closing that circle from mindset to skill set. You got this. I know that you do, and you've chosen to be here, and that's the most special thing. This industry has been made for you. It's made for me. It's made for all of us. We're all here for one reason, and I know that in your heart, you're ready to jump and you're ready to take it to the next level. So keep staying connected and have a fantastic day.
By you. I don't do podcasts very often. Not because I don't want to, because I just don't have a lot of opportunity to do that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's great to be on. I love the fact that you are doing this podcast.
Yeah.
I think that I was going to save this for later, but it does seem to be kind of working its way that direction anyway. The hair business is a weird place.
Mm-hmm.
And, we are in a position where we are considered service providers,
Yep.
right? Which is oftentimes confused with another serve word, servant.
Yeah.
And, as you well know, as most anybody knows from over the course of history, the first person to be abused by those wanting service is usually the people providing the service, right?
Yes.
So that's one side of that. While on the other side of that, we are in a position again to basically be in the level of attorney and physician levels of income.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's really nice. And I say all of that to say that it's really nice that you're doing this type of podcast to draw attention to how you can do things in the hair industry, how the hair industry can, basically be not just a get by occupation. Like, it's an elevating occupation. It's an occupation that lifts people up. There's a large sector of our hair society, so to speak, that could step up a step and see that the view from up there is really nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elevate themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think there is equally as large a sector of our hair society that could, and I'll say this very gently, come down off the cross a bit.
Yeah.
In that you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to, frame your existence in the hair business as sacrificial.
Right.
In this time of the year, this time of the year is where I really can get a little loud about this sort of thing, because for me, busy is just busy.
Right.
Right. Either you're busy or you're not busy. There is no reason that anyone in our industry should be killing themselves during this time of the year.
Yeah.
No, there's absolutely no reason. And you can come up with all the excuses that you want, but the fact of the matter is, no matter how many hairdressers you have in a salon or a salon group, right? Yep. There's only one of you.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one. You can only do so many podcasts at a time. I can only be on so many podcasts at a time. And that just filters down to clients and hours of the day and days of the week and months of the year, right? So,
Absolutely.
so why are you, this would be my question, why are you as a hairdresser of that particular sector of our hair society
Hmm.
so willing to sacrifice yourself for that?
Mm, that is good.
You know what I mean? I mean that
Yeah.
that I really, really spent a lot of time on this morning.
What got you from out of school to, like, I know this is a journey, right? So what got you from out of school, I need to build a book,
Right?
to the spot, the sweet spot that you're in right now? And like, I love this conversation because what's happening is the ticket prices and the outcomes, what the clients are asking for involves so much more than we've ever done before. So I feel
Oh
like
my God, yes.
that has changed too. So let's dive into that also, coming out of school and that, like, up until now.
Coming out of school, I think I think the first salon I worked in, this is Oklahoma. So, I mean, keep in mind, this is the middle of the United States. It's not an East Coast economy. It's not a West Coast economy. It's not even an
Yeah.
upper Midwest economy. It is what it is, right?
I like that.
Um, the
I love that.
the first salon I worked at, um, I knew the owner's son from a previous, or I knew the owner's nephew from a previous job, right? So I went to work because in this salon because of that, and she was a shampoo set lady, and like literally, and I was again thinking about this morning. I would literally watch her roll up, set under the dryer, roll up, set under the dryer, take out from under the dryer the first person, comb them out, send them out the door, take the other person out from under the dryer, comb them out, send them out the door. The next person of the day would be a haircut, perm, and shampoo and set.
Oh,
So she
wow.
would cut and roll up and process that person. While that person was processing, she would roll up her next person.
Mm,
While that person was drying, she would rinse and neutralize and then roll up that person. And it
mm.
was just, I mean, it was mind boggling. The logistics of the thing was baffling because she was like a machine.
Yeah.
And I think she was charging $15 for a shampoo set back then.
Oh, wow.
And I was charging about straight out of school. I was charging about $20 for a haircut, for a woman's haircut.
Wow.
And she was like, "You'll never make any money if you don't do this."
Ah,
And I was like, "No, I'm not doing
right.
that. I can tell you right now." So, and when I started school in 1989, I think I mean I paid a relatively exuberant price for beauty school at the time, which was around $6,000 or $7,000.
That's
All
incredible.
right, I mean that was a relatively exuberant amount of money. All
Yeah,
right,
I get it. Yeah.
um, and I was like, I did not pay 7 grand and go 1,500 hours to school to roll up and comb out hair
Yeah.
8 hours a day for
Mm,
15 bucks a pop.
mm-mm.
And it just wasn't, to me, it just wasn't what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the irony of that is in 2022, I really make a part of my programs about brush placement.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how you achieve, the look you want to achieve.
Right.
You always have to remember, brush placement, and that goes back to roller placement, and that
Ah,
goes back to shampoo
yep.
set, and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was that first part of that journey. What I mean, there was several. The road kind of meanders through there for a little bit. I started out in the independent end of the industry. renting a chair.
Okay.
I failed miserably at that. I
Hmm.
think a lot due to youth, unrealistic expectations, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I went to work in corporate hair for a while.
Okay.
Um, and that, I never will begrudge anybody that works in that type of industry, whether it's for a huge salon group, or whether
Yep.
it is a large corporate chain, or whether it is a budget chain. You know what I
Right.
mean? I will never begrudge anybody for that. And this is the reason why. Especially, large corporate chains, budget chains, that sort of thing. It allowed me to have one thing that I was missing,
Mm.
and that was practice.
Yeah.
Practice with anonymity.
Yeah.
You ask anybody that goes to, a budget chain or anything like that,
Yep.
have you ever had a bad haircut from there? And of course, most people here and there will say, well, yes, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
you ask them who did the bad haircut, and 99.5% of those people would be like, I don't know, some dude, some lady, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, everybody is going to make mistakes. Everybody is going to quote unquote, mess up coming out of school. That's
Absolutely.
that's the thing about being a novice. You know what I mean? You
Yep.
are learning, and that's the thing about this career, is that it is a continual cycle of continuous education and learning. That kind of thing. And so I worked for them for about 4 years. Then I took another swipe at the, renting a chair and that sort of thing. Much more successful that time,
That's awesome.
much
Yeah.
more successful. Learning how to, have the discipline to get up and go to work, having the, all of that. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
as a 19-year-old, you have a whole lot of one thing and not a lot of other things. You have a whole lot of ambition as to what you would like to see the world as, and typically not a lick of sense, you know.
Yeah. And now, were you in
And
Oklahoma this whole time?
yes,
Okay.
yes, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for a year during
Oh,
that corporate hair
okay.
situation.
Okay.
Um, I learned a lot while I lived in Louisville. I mean, I learned a lot about me. I met a gentleman while I was there that really um, helped shape who I became as a hairdresser down the road.
I love that.
He was a barber. He was a very successful barber in the Louisville area,
Mhm.
um, and he was also kind of a renegade type dude. He was an old hippie man
I love
that
it.
went to work. He went to work every day in overalls and flip flops,
Oh my
and
gosh, I love it.
he did some of Louisville's higher society people, and
That's awesome.
he taught me a lot about barbering. He taught me a lot about hairdressing. One of the things he told me, I tell people all the time. He said at one point, as a matter of fact, if you are in the hair industry and you know who this person is, who I'm speaking of currently is Russell Mays. If you know who he is,
Mhm.
it's his father.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Willie Mays was a very well-known barber in the Louisville area.
That's so
Russell Mays was his son. And Willie always said, if the cut's not good, a blow dryer won't save
I love that.
you. And like, that
Oh yeah.
literally led to what, one of the things that really led to where I am today. And
Mm,
that is, being the, creative design ambassador for Keune. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I really dove deep into design and hair cutting and making sure that before you ever picked up a hair dryer, that the cut itself was spot on.
Yeah.
So education to me seemed like the next logical place to attempt to elevate myself,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And my DSC was very insistent. He was like, you don't want to do it just yet. He was
Hmm.
like, don't want to. Is like, this particular brand is inundated with educators and that sort of thing. And he and I both understood that for me, I didn't want to just have educator as a
Yep.
place, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I wanted the experience.
Hmm.
And moving forward from that brand went on to be purchased by a larger conglomerate, that sort of thing.
Right.
And it was during a time when that was happening a lot. It
Mm.
was during the early 2000s
Yeah.
when this large piece over here was gobbling up a lot of other pieces along the way. And I threw a fit. I had a very unglamorous meltdown when he came in and said that, well, this is, being sold, and
Yeah.
we only work with independently owned brands and small brands and blah 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 blah. And I just had a very, 30 something come apart, and he was
Oh.
like, wait,
Yeah.
try this. And he handed me a few tubes of Keune color, and
That's awesome.
I was like, well, okay. So I use it for a couple of days, use it on my mom, that kind of thing, use it on my
Yeah.
girlfriend at the time,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And, all the usual suspects when it comes to guinea pigs,
Yeah.
And he comes back, and I was like, just sign me up,
Nice.
take the whole thing. I want to do. And then I ended up being the first person in this market to do a complete buyout when Keune came on the scene. So that was in October of that year. The following January, he comes to me again. And he's like, what do you see yourself doing? I can't remember. I think it's 2007. He was like, what do you see yourself doing this year? And I was like, bro, it's January. I mean, I'm still recovering from
I was just
Christmas,
gonna say, you're still like coming off of the holidays.
right. And I was like, I hadn't really had a lot of time to think about it. And he was like, I think now's the time to make a move. I think this is the brand to make a move with. He explained to me why. And he was like, I really think you can, have an impact, get the experience you're looking for, that sort of thing. And so I went and, got certified. I did 8 years in the field before I did my first, developed my first program.
Okay. That is
And
amazing.
and once I developed my first program, it seemed like everything. It was like an 8 year ride to the top of the first roller coaster hill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And once I got over the top of that, it has been a wild ride since then. And just doing things I was, in the beginning not incredibly confident in, getting to be a part of things, and I'm like, why? What am I?
Yeah.
I think we all suffer from this periodically, but the why am I
Yeah.
here question, like, you're in a room full of people that you're like, these are for real folks. You know what I mean? These
Yeah.
people have covers, they have awards, they have, this sort of thing, and you're in the room with them doing hair. First it was New York Fashion Week, and then it goes from there to, we
That's awesome.
I'm on a team that is sponsored by Keune, that we were, finalists at this year's Southeast Hairdressing Awards. So we didn't win, but we were still finalists. And I think, when they were talking about it at the beginning, we were sitting in the audience, and the lady was like, to everyone that's a finalist, just remember, that of the entrants that we got, you were in the top 20%. With the brand, I'm predominantly focused on design and finishing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I co-lead the design team. I co-author our field programs that involve design, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Behind the chair, I cut and color and finish hair.
Yeah.
That's,
And
you know,
I love it.
right,
Yeah.
right.
No, that's awesome. So I mean, when I was behind the chair, I love cutting hair because that was my favorite. Like I really stayed in a box with color. I wasn't like this, let's do all the
Didn't
things.
get wild with it.
No, no. And I love watching other people get creative and wild with it. I mean, I think it's just incredible. But cutting to me was so satisfying. Like the
Mm.
the way hair moves and like, actually helping somebody with a calic that they've had for their whole entire life. Like literally like that lit me up.
Right.
Like that was my thing. I was like, oh, I know how to do that. Like,
Helping them overcome that struggle.
yeah, it just was like this thing that really clicked for me and so satisfying. So I love that. I love to see hair move in ways that they never thought it could. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Same here.
Yeah. So tell me, like, we've been talking a lot about, like I said, mindset and things like that, and
Right.
how you come to work and get prepared to come to work. And I think that that's the biggest thing, right? So like when I'm walking in the door, my cup is filled. I'm ready to go. I can take
Right.
on all of these things. And I know tomorrow I'm going to, be able to do the same thing.
Right.
So what do you do for yourself on a daily basis?
So again, this was something that I gave a lot of thought to this morning.
Love it.
And we'll start with answering your question directly. What do I do? I usually get up about I usually get up about 2.5 hours before I have to be at work.
Yep.
All right. Because I need time to get ready.
Yep.
And by getting ready does not mean just getting a shower, getting your hair done, getting your clothes on,
Yep.
and eating breakfast. That to me, that is getting ready. And maybe I should use the word, I need to be able to have time to get prepared for the day, right?
Yep.
So you need 3 days a week. I hit the rowing machine upstairs.
I love that.
I get up and I have about 20 or 30 minutes that I just sit and drink coffee.
Mm.
In a very dimly lit living room. I'm always accused by the woman that's gracious enough to live with me, like, why are you sitting in the dark? I'm like, well, I mean, because I like it's soothing to me. So I sit and I usually, go through the news like an old man would. But I think a lot of times I sit and have that time to just reflect
Yeah.
and think about what the day is about, what yesterday might have been about, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then I'll get up, get it, do my exercising, get in the shower, eat my breakfast, do my hair, get my lunch ready to take to work, and then head to work.
Yeah.
Now, with all that said, that's whether I'm getting ready to go to the salon, whether I'm on the road getting prepared for a program. If I have to be at the academy at 7:30,
Yeah.
in Buckhead, Atlanta, I am up at 5. Even though I don't have a rowing machine, I can't muster the wherewithal to go downstairs and use the hotel's gym or anything like that. I just need that time to get myself in the proper headspace to get moving.
Yeah.
So with all that said, my partner in crime, Gareth Palmer, he literally blows out of bed 40 minutes before he has to be where he has to be. and comes in, has ate breakfast, has took a shower, has fixed his hair, is in a suit and ready to roll. So now the reason I say that is that we have a saying amongst us, and that is everyone has a process.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever that process is what it is. He is no less successful than I. We just have very different ways of doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's the process. And I think that, it's kind of funny the way society views things a lot of times, because, you've heard the old saying, accident or success doesn't happen accidentally. It happens because you plan to, right? So planning to be successful means that you have an idea, you have a plan. So plans become routines.
Right.
Right. But routines can be viewed as methodical, and methodical can be viewed as boring.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the dichotomy of the social point of view of, planning to be successful and being a boring old fogey.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, and that's what I keep saying. I feel like, everybody's routine, or, how, whatever you want to call it, however you get prepared, it's going to look different. It's going to look different.
Right. I think it behooves everyone. And this, I think sometimes just as humans we get away from this, and that is, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Hi, I am just checking in. How are you doing? Are you enjoying this? Oh my goodness. I had so much fun. Isn't he hilarious? He's so funny. He was so entertaining. You just can really relate. So it just was awesome. There's so much more left to this podcast, and I hope that you're really seeing that value that I was talking about in the beginning. Keep listening and enjoy.
I think it's very important to acknowledge what your process is. Like I said earlier, to be honest with yourself with what you need.
Right. I love that you put it that way.
Because everybody needs something.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really, it behooves everyone to be honest with that, with yourself. And when you start becoming honest with yourself, there's a whole lot of other things that happen too. You actually do take the time to reflect. You do take the time to, acknowledge things that were good, what your successes were, and you take the time to ponder your opportunities, like, what would I do different next time? I think the important thing there is to not let the successes become overshadowed by the opportunities.
Yeah.
While at the same time, you can't ignore the opportunities in favor of just the successes.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love that you said, you kind of focus on what you need, and it also kind of shines a light on everything else. I think that also really puts in perspective the boundaries for yourself. Like, you kind of establish what you're going to allow to come into your life and not allow to come into your life. I think that's huge. And I know that takes time as you get older.
Oh, absolutely.
That's totally me. I'm, totally in that space right now, because I feel my girls are 8 and 9, and I'm finally like, all right, so now what? They're like off doing their own thing and nobody needs
Right,
me. So it's just I think you reevaluate your preparing yourself, your routine, your whole thing almost, I don't know, every day, every week. It's just kind of always evolving.
right. I 100% agree with that. You know, it and the boundaries part of it is so important.
Oh my gosh.
I can't, I mean, I really love that a lot of the younger hairdressers are really embracing that particular mindset because, you know, the coming from the age of hairdressing that I come from, I mean, it was you could not put in enough hours,
Yeah.
and how dare you for not taking that last client. And every time you didn't take a last client, that was going to be the beginning of the end of your career, you know, that sort of thing. And I think that really, you know, and we talk about, you know, elevating ourselves inside the career, and then in turn elevating the career itself and the perspective of the career, you know. I think that getting being able to have a generation of hairdressers that are coming up that refuse to be viewed as servants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really, I watch and follow a lot of young hairdressers, and by young hairdressers I mean, you know, in their early 20s,
Hmm.
and you know, across all states, across all, you know, genders and identities and all of this. And one of the things that I find is that somewhere between 23, 21, and 30, or 20 and 30, that group of folks is like, no,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
is when I come to work. This is when I'm available to talk about work.
Hmm.
And these are the hours that I am working. And I think that's very important, um, because at the end of the day, we don't think about this, even though our career is continually dominated by this. At the end of the day, time is the most important factor.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, I was, when preparing for our talk today, I did a lot of thinking about that. And if from the time you were born, you were told that you have an inexhaustible source of income, right?
Hmm.
It will never run out, but at some point it will be cut off.
Hmm.
We don't know when, everybody's cutoff date is different, but the money will never run out. It will just end.
Hmm.
Would you or would you not continually spend money like you had it, right? You would just be out in the world like free as a breeze. You wouldn't have rent to worry about. You wouldn't have all of that to worry about. So you would just be living literally, quote unquote, your best life, right?
Right. Right.
That's time,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Time never runs out, it just stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think to be able to spend that time wisely, and, you know, sometimes luxuriously, sometimes not, but always taking the time.
Hmm.
Because if you don't, time is a weird thing. It's always there, but if you don't take it, you'll never have it.
I feel like, I mean, I remember wishing time away because when I was behind the chair, I put everything into it. Like, I mean,
Right.
everything. I wanted to, just like educate. I was a Redken artist and I was an educator for our company, and it was like literally the time of my life. I loved it.
Right.
Um, when I had my girls, I went through a crazy time in my life where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know who I am. Like, who am I? And went through a lot of depression and things like that.
Hmm.
And I like to talk about it because that's that's the business that we're in. Like again, like if we are here to give the client experience and the whole thing, and
Absolutely.
all of this. And if you're not okay to do that, there's no way you can possibly be successful, unfortunately. Like,
Right.
you're going to
100%.
debilitate, you're going to like kind of sabotage yourself. And so, I mean, I remember being behind the chair thinking like, I literally cannot do this anymore. I cannot listen to what this person is saying anymore. And I mean everyone on here can totally relate to that. We've all
Oh,
had those
absolutely.
moments. We've all had those moments. But this moment was like, ooh, like that you're not doing a good job right now. So
Right.
um so that was the time that I was like, okay, I need to explore what my other options are. What am I going to do next in my career? And the beauty industry is this is everything to me. So for me to think about walking away was like, no, I can't do that. And I've been with my company for 17 years, and luckily I was able to transition into what I do now, recruiting and being able to do this podcast and, like coaching to people that go through things like I went through, or, for you to say about time is huge and you only get one life. Um, and like that's huge for me. Like you really only get this one life. And if you put that in perspective, at the end of the day, when you look back, you want to make sure it's worth it.
Because I think you said it really, really well. You have all these opportunities to be in the hair industry, what you
Mm-hmm.
want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
By that same token, we can't talk about what you want to do without having to talk about what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I think sometimes that gets lost.
Yeah.
I'm currently I have 9 weeks from the time that I saw you guys in Philly. All right. I
Yeah.
had one more trip to take for the year, and then I had 9 weeks before my next trip out. Right.
Yeah.
And I have a show in California in March, and I'm sure there's going to be things in between there. Right. So I have 9 weeks where I have nothing to do.
Mm.
And I could easily do nothing.
Yeah.
If there's anything I love to do, it's to do nothing. And I think most
But
people are that way, right?
that's okay. That's
Right,
okay.
right.
Sometimes you need to
But
not
one
do
of
anything.
one of my goals is always to, if we must live life, and that's kind of what we should be doing. We should be living life, not just going through it. So if we must live life, one of my goals always is to live it the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
And working on tomorrow's project the day before it's due is not, in my opinion, the way to live an easy life.
No.
Right?
No. Yes.
So, for academy programs, we have we'll have our advanced academy calendar being published soon. um I have a show in March. I have national training in January, and I have those 9 weeks during the holiday season in between all that. So I've begun to work on benchmarks for academy programs.
Mm.
I'm kind of starting to work on concepts for my part of the show.
Yeah.
And, those are the things that when you see me at the academy, or you see an artist on a live, or you see an artist on stage at a show or whatever, those are all the things you don't see.
Exactly. Right.
is what is going on up to that point. So as hairdressers that work and have chosen the hair field as a career behind the chair, solely behind the chair, there's still prep work that goes with that as well. Continuing education. I get up in the morning. Sometimes I'm thinking about it at night before I go to bed. Like, what's the best approach for client or guest A today? What's going to be that kind of thing. And I think that, going through that process, having a process to go through first and foremost, but for me, going through that process helps make getting there and doing the thing so much easier,
Yeah.
Because one of the things that is on your list, and we can kind of bounce back and forth, is the idea of success.
Yeah.
What is the idea of success? And I saw this the other day, so I'm going to steal from this. Let's start out talking about what success isn't.
Yeah. Okay. I love
Right.
that. Yeah.
Not failure. We're not talking about failure, just what success isn't to me.
Right.
Success isn't getting up early in the morning, furiously working all day to go home and quickly eat dinner, go to bed, wash, rinse, repeat. Mm-hmm. Take 3 weeks a year where you jam all the possible kind of side activities you want, when you're both bookended on those weeks by the worry of what you have to get done and what you're coming back to have to face.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. To me, that isn't necessarily what I would view as success. And for some people it is, and hats off to them. And, that's their version of success, and that's totally cool. That's just not mine.
Right. Which I love that.
one of the things that I view as a part of success is having the time to experience the things I want to experience. Mm. Now, is that getting ready for a show? Is that getting ready for the year? Is that getting ready for next month? This month? Is that getting ready for 3 months down the road? Now, that kind of thing. And I think that is a yes, because that makes living life between A and B so much easier. Yep. Than having B hanging over the head of the entire time that you're going through A, and you're constantly worried about B. You're always worried about, I got to get this done. 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 When in all actuality, if you would just take a little time to do it, and I'm not perfect at it. I mean, I'm not speaking from the point of, or the perspective of, a time management samurai. That's not at all what I'm talking about, because I have my own, things to work on and that sort of thing. And I only came to this about 3 or 4 years ago, where I was like, boom, it's 2 weeks before this is due. I have to get it done. Yeah. And it was really it had become, I was like, this is not how I want to do things. Right. Yeah. And that being said, each year when we do our corporate evaluations, right? Yeah. Each year, that is a goal for the next year, is to still be better at working through things at a pace versus working through things in a confined space, right? And I honestly have to say that each year I think I've gotten a little better and a little better and a little better at that. So, and to speak to that this year, I'm, working through things early, starting to get an idea of what I want to present early. That way, when it comes time to get through and get down to business, right, I already have everything in my head as the way I want it, or I have it set up how I want it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're creating habits for yourself. And exactly.
Good habits. Yeah, exactly. I love it.
What has happened, no matter who has stepped on your toe, or you have stubbed your own toe, or you have, sliced your finger open in the middle of the last program of the year, in the
Yeah.
middle of the first day, um, we are lucky to get to do this job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to hairdressing in general, we
Mhm.
can say that.
Absolutely. It's the
I
best.
mean,
The
we're
best.
not behind a desk. We're not in a building somewhere, stuck in middle management, whatever, or just a cog in the wheel. We definitely we have more of a say about our own destiny than I think we realize.
Absolutely.
And if we talk about, in your outline, we talk about legacy. You know,
Hmm.
I will be forthcoming and transparent. There are a whole lot of hairdressers out there way more creative than myself. There's a lot more talent out there than me. But one of the things I hope to leave behind is the understanding that this is possibly. I always used to joke and make fun. Like, the only other job that would be easier than this would be illegal. This is the most money you can make, and to have the
Yeah.
most fun doing it. That's legal.
That's so
The
true. I
next
love
level
that.
is stealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so that helping people understand that the career you've chosen is an awesome one, which is why I agreed to come on this in the first place. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Jackie told me that, that what your mission is and what you're trying to do. And I was like, that I can get behind. I'll for sure,
Thank
you know,
you.
look forward to her reaching out and talking with me about it, because hairdressing, I tell hairdressers this all the time when we're talking about hair cutting, or especially back in the day when I talked about hair color, when I did hair color education. Um, Hairdressing is easy. You are complicated. You know
Oh,
what I
I
mean?
love that. That
And I
needs to be
always
a quote,
joke.
like
I,
everywhere.
I always joke with hairdressers because they'll always be like, okay. And I always poke fun at it and say this. We are literally the flagship for complicating a cup of coffee.
Huh.
Because every hairdresser everywhere has to always talk about Starbucks, has to talk about bringing me Starbucks, has to talk about, I love when people bring me Starbucks. And
That's true.
Starbucks is literally the industry standard for complicating a cup of coffee.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, I love this.
So
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
So I mean, yeah, it's, when you talk about legacy and that sort of thing, that's what I
Yeah.
would want to leave behind, is for people to understand that even though it can get complicated, and days can get long, and weeks can get longer, and months, that sort of thing, it truly is the best job in the world.
Yeah,
You know,
I can't agree more.
I came into this business as a dock hand. I was loading trucks for a
Wow.
living.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so um so not tooting my own horn at all, I know what work is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know what crappy work is.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you
and
do.
and not to take anything from my dock hand brethren out in the world, but I would be sure to bet that they would all say it's hard work
Yeah.
and it's not awesome jobs. They may get paid well, they may make great money, they may get benefits, that sort of thing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're not going to say that, it's an awesome job.
Right.
So that being said, moving into the hair industry, I was just, it's literally one of the easiest things that we can do, and we have such a huge impact, and we can make such, great amounts of dollars. It's just getting people over the stigma that you did it because you had to.
Right. Yeah.
I've been with Keune for 14 years. I've been a hairdresser for 32 years. I met my partner Jennifer in Kansas City, Missouri, almost 7 years ago.
Aww.
She moved to Oklahoma City almost 6 years ago. And we were moving into a condo, right?
Yeah.
And I was showing pictures of the condo to my mom. It was, really a super nice place and all this kind of stuff. And, wood floors and just, fun, nice stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, oh, that's great, this and that. So a couple of weeks later, my sister comes to me and she was like, you want to hear a funny story? I'm like, sure, absolutely. She was like, Mom was showing me the pictures of your condo and that sort of thing. And she asked, and I was very transparent about it. She knew how much rent was, and that sort of thing, how much I was paying.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, and she asked me the strangest question. And I was like, well, what's that? She was like, she asked if you guys were going to be okay. And she was like, are they going to make it? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. My mom was like, no. Are they, do you think that he can afford that?
Right.
And my sister laughed and she was like, you do understand. My sister has a nice corporate job, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Quote unquote respectable job. And my sister was like, you do understand that your son has way more disposable income than I did.
Oh, I love that.
And she was like, so, and this is my mom. She has watched me come along in the hair business. She's watched me, work with Keune and do the things that I've done. And in her mind, I'm still destitute. So I think helping people overcome that idea that you can't make a great living. My Jennifer's mother was very resistant to her being a hairdresser. She went to college to be a counselor, all right, and social work, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then when she decided to go to hairdressing, to cosmetology school, her mom was like, well, you can't make any money doing that.
I know. I feel like everyone said that.
I think there's not one message that hits the same for every single person. I think, one of the things I would leave everybody with is this. I was listening to one of Simon Sinek's books.
Oh yeah.
I think it was The Infinite Game, which was the last book he wrote, right?
Yeah.
And being a child and a product of the 80s that I am, he talked about a guitarist and band leader by the name of Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine was originally the lead guitarist for Metallica back in the day. All right, when they very first started.
Yeah.
But drugs and alcohol being what they are, they parted ways with Dave, and it was a very bitter breakup and that sort of thing. And his, in an interview, he said that his only goal in life at that point was to be more successful than them. All right. Now here's the irony of that. In the same interview, they asked him if he was successful. And he was like, well, I mean, not really, but I guess. And they're like, you're the leader of one of the most prominent heavy metal bands. You're celebrated as a guitarist. You've been on countless covers. You've won awards. You've been nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All of this. And literally still clinging to this idea and whatnot. Because he hadn't sold as many records as Metallica, he still did not consider himself to be a success.
Wow.
So what I will say is this, and this goes back to success and what success isn't.
Right.
Don't ever measure your level of success based on someone else's.
No.
Always look at your accomplishments. And some days, even if that's just coming to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Some days it's just that. It's not glamorous, it's not pretty, but right. Some days it's just coming to work. And I'm here and I'm gonna do the damn thing. Yep. And that's what it's gonna be, Right. But don't ever, set yourself up against someone else and try to measure how successful you are based on how successful they are.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think we're all guilty of that at various intervals in our life. And not all of us are always in a place where we can remind ourselves not to do that.
And so what did I tell you? So much value, so many good, spicy, juicy, amazing things that you can get out of all of this that you can really just grab onto because you can totally relate to it, right? I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I hope that you guys did too. I really encourage you to go and give him a follow because he is coming out with some really awesome things in 2023. It's going to be really great. Also, I linked his Facebook, I linked his Instagram, and I also linked Keune in our notes on the episode. So definitely check all of those out. Keep staying connected and have a fantastic day.